The stars were quiet that night. They were always quiet, of course, but technician Jace Wren liked to imagine they whispered. He spent most of his days listening to them, seated inside Observation Station Delta 4, floating alone near the edge of known space. The station was not large. It had only 4 crew members, and sometimes weeks passed with no new message, no ship, no sound except the steady hum of machinery. Some people felt lonely in places like this. Jace did not. He liked quiet places. Quiet places gave time to think. Delta 4 belonged to the Human Deep Listening Program. Its job was simple: to listen. Huge dish receivers pointed outward toward the dark, waiting to catch the smallest signs of radio waves, pulses, patterns, or anything that suggested life out there. Humanity knew there were aliens somewhere. They had not been found yet, but scientists believed the universe was too large for humans to be alone. So listening posts like Delta 4 listened day and night. Jay sat in front of the signal monitor, a simple blue screen filled with rising and falling wave shapes. Most of the signals were just cosmic noise. Distant star radiation, pulsars, the remains of exploded suns. Half of the work was identifying things that were not messages. It could get boring, but Jace did not mind. He would sip warm tea from his metal cup and watch the endless dance of lines across the screen. He was used to silence, but tonight something changed. A sudden tone cut through the room. It was soft, not loud, but unusual, a long note that held steady before fading. Jace blinked and sat upright. What was that? He whispered to himself. He tapped the replay button. The tone played again. Slow, even, almost like someone holding a breath. Jace leaned forward, eyes narrowed. He checked the source reading. The signal came from the Varelli sector. His chest tightened a little. The Varelli sector was not a normal place. It was a region of space surrounded by stories. Pilots spoke of ghost signals there, ancient structures floating in the dark, a world that once held life but now lay silent. A long time ago, an advanced species had lived there, but they had vanished. Some said disease took them. Others said war. Others believed they simply left for another dimension. No one knew the truth. The sector had been marked as restricted for travel. Too unstable, too unknown. Jace replayed the signal again, but this time, as he listened carefully, he noticed something new. It was not just a tone. There were patterns hidden behind the sound, almost like words, like someone trying to speak through layers of interference. He frowned and began to adjust the audio filters. First, he removed the high-frequency noise, then he lowered the background static. The tone cleared, and behind it came a voice, soft, tired, filled with something heavy, something that felt like heartbreak. Help! Jace froze, his heart beat faster. He played it again. Help! Anyone! It was faint, but it was unmistakable. A distress call. He quickly activated the message exporter and translated it through the signal decoder. The decoder worked by comparing patterns of speech across known languages. It usually failed with unknown languages, but this time, strangely, it caught something. The voice was not human. It was gentle, calm, but trembling under exhaustion. Please. To whoever hears. I am trapped. I cannot free myself. My world is gone. I remain alone. The words repeated in loop. Jace felt a chill run down his spine. He had heard many things in deep space monitoring. Automated distress beacons, old ship records. But this voice was different. It carried emotion. Real emotion. It sounded like someone who had lost everything. He stood up and hurried to the communication room where Commander Rayla Holt was reviewing monthly reports. She was strict, focused, always serious. Her dark hair was tied back and her uniform was neat even in the lonely station. Commander? Jace said, trying to keep his voice steady. I found something. A signal. Rayla looked up. Source? Varelli's sector. Her eyes hardened immediately. We do not involve ourselves in Varelli's. You know the protocol. I know, Jace said. But this is not just noise. It's a distress call. And it's not a recording. The message is live. She stood slowly. Play it. Jace pressed a button and the room filled with the quiet, sorrowful voice. Please, can anyone hear me? I am alone. Silence followed. Rayla exhaled. This could still be a hazard. A trap, an old defense system, a malfunction. There are hundreds of explanations. It doesn't sound like a trap, Jace said softly. It sounds like someone who has lost hope. Rayla looked at him. Not coldly, but carefully, I know you have a good heart, Jace, but we cannot send anyone into Varelli's. Not without direct approval from Central Command, and they will not grant it. So we're going to ignore her? Jace asked. His voice cracked before he could stop it. We must follow regulations, she replied. Jace said no more. He returned to his station, but he could not focus. The voice played again in his mind. The loneliness in it, the pain. He felt his chest tighten more each time. Night cycle arrived, and the station lights dimmed. The others slept. But Jace remained awake. He listened to the signal again and again. He imagined someone sitting alone in a dark, ruined world calling out, not knowing if anyone heard, not knowing if anyone cared. He knew what that felt like. Long ago, before joining the deep listening program, he had felt alone too. Not in a dramatic way, just quietly, like being a voice no one noticed. He remembered what it felt like to wish someone would simply listen. He tapped the console again. The signal grew clearer. If anyone hears, I beg for aid, please. He closed his eyes. He could not abandon her. He stood and walked to the dock bay. There were 2 scout vessels attached. Small ships meant for short travel. Not heavily armed, not fast. But enough to reach the signal's origin. He entered authorization commands. A red message flashed. Access denied, command approval required. He exhaled slowly. Then he opened the maintenance panel and rewired the manual override. He knew how. He was a technician after all. It was part of his job to know how the systems worked. The door clicked open. The scout ship was small, shining silver with seating for only 1 pilot. Jace climbed inside. The cabin lights turned on softly, welcoming him. He pressed the ignition. Engines hummed. He took a deep breath. He was not a hero. He was not brave. But he was someone who listened. And tonight someone needed to be heard. He spoke quietly to the voice, even though she could not hear him yet. I'm coming. The scout ship detached from the station and drifted forward. Stars stretched like lines as the engine activated. The ship shot into the dark, heading toward the Varelli sector. Toward the unknown. Toward a lost voice in the silence. Delta 4 remained behind, quiet once again. But the universe was no longer silent. Someone had heard, and someone was answering. The blackness of space stretched endlessly, dotted with tiny points of light that seemed insignificant against the void. Among those distant stars drifted the Archelaus hive, a massive alien ship of intricate design, shaped like a spiraling crown. Inside, the alien queen, Zira, sat trapped in her command chamber, her luminous eyes reflecting the lights of the control panels. She had ruled her species for centuries, leading them across galaxies, conquering worlds, and surviving threats that would have destroyed lesser beings. Yet now she was helpless. The hive had been attacked by a coalition of interstellar mercenaries. Their weapons had breached the outer hull, and the defensive systems, normally unmatched in efficiency, were offline. Zira's species had no true allies in this region, and her fleet had been scattered. She felt the weight of isolation pressing down like the gravity of a dying star. Queen Zira, a trembling aide called. The hull breaches are expanding. Our structural integrity is failing. We cannot— Silence! Zira interrupted, her voice calm but icy. Even as the alarm screamed around her, she moved to the observation window, looking out into the darkness. The stars were silent witnesses to her failure, mocking in their cold beauty. For the first time in her long life, Zira felt the sting of desperation. The hive itself groaned as if in pain. She could feel the vibrations through the deck, each one resonating with the panic that filled her crew. Her mind raced. There were no reinforcements. No allies, no hope except a small, almost impossible hope. Zira had learned of humans decades ago from intercepted transmissions and captured explorers. Their reputation had been mixed. Fragile yet clever, fragile yet capable of extraordinary acts. The legends spoke of their persistence and ingenuity, and now in the absence of all other options, Zira's mind drifted toward them. The communication array flickered. Normally it would only connect with hive frequencies, but the damages had unlocked a dormant channel, one that could reach beyond the standard spectrum. Desperation forced her to try. Her claws hovered over the console. She hesitated, not out of fear but because she knew the odds. Contacting a human was a gamble. Most would ignore her, others might exploit her weakness, but the Queen had no choice. She needed help, and only a human could provide the unexpected. "Attention, whoever can hear me," Zyra began, her voice trembling just slightly. "I am Queen Zira of the Arcalis Hive. I am trapped and my people are in danger. If you have the courage and the means, respond." For minutes there was silence. The blackness beyond the ship seemed to swallow her words. Zira felt the cold of space pressing against the hull, and with each second she grew more aware of her mortality, something alien queens rarely did. Then, a faint response came. It was a crackling, uneven transmission, but it carried a voice distinctly human, tinged with curiosity and caution. Queen Zira?" the voice said. "This is Captain Elias of the human ship Endeavor. I think we can help. Can you describe your situation?" Zyra's heart, or its alien equivalent, skipped. This was it, a chance. She gathered herself, her voice regaining authority. "The Arcalis Hive has been critically damaged by mercenary forces. Our fleet is scattered. Our life support systems are compromised. We need extraction assistance. Can your species offer it?" Captain Elias hesitated, his voice betraying a mix of disbelief and awe. "Extraction? That's a lot. We're small compared to you. Your ship is massive. I don't know if we can—" "Do not underestimate your species," Zira interrupted. "You have qualities that many might miss. Ingenuity, resilience, adaptability. If you assist me, you may not only save my hive but gain an ally beyond measure." The human captain was silent for a moment. Zira could feel the tension, the calculations running behind his words. Then slowly he replied, "All right, we'll come. But we need coordinates and we need to move fast." Zira's claws danced across the control panels. She uploaded the ship's damaged navigation data and sent a warning to any surviving crew to hold their positions. The Endeavor would have to maneuver carefully. The Hive's defensive drones were unstable and could misfire. As she waited for the humans to arrive, Zira wandered the corridors of her ship. Normally, these halls were filled with the hum of purposeful activity, the disciplined movements of her soldiers and aides. Now they were chaotic, filled with the hiss of damaged pipes, flickering lights, and the occasional cry of a wounded Arcalis. She stopped at the sight of a young soldier, barely fully grown, struggling to stabilize a failing energy conduit. "You have courage," Zyra said softly. "Even in the face of certain defeat, you act. That is a quality I respect." The young Arcalis looked up, awe mixing with pain. "Queen, we don't want to die here, but we will follow you," Zira nodded. This was why she led. This was why the Hive had survived centuries of battles. Her people, flawed yet unyielding, mirrored the very hope she now placed in the humans. Minutes passed like hours. Then a distant glimmer appeared on the sensors. The human ship. It was smaller, more fragile than the Arcalis Hive, yet it moved with precision. The humans had not hesitated. That in itself was remarkable. The Endeavor docked carefully, and a team of human engineers boarded the Hive. Zira studied them silently. They were unlike anything her species had designed, fragile yet oddly efficient with tools she did not recognize. They moved with confidence born not of size but of creativity and sheer determination. Captain Elias stepped forward. "Queen Zira, we can stabilize your ship enough for evacuation. But it will be dangerous. We'll need your crew to cooperate fully, and we'll have to reroute power from critical systems." "I understand," Zyra replied. "Do what you must. I will ensure my people comply." The humans worked quickly, adjusting the massive power conduits, patching hull breaches, and stabilizing the failing AI systems. They spoke to each other in rapid sequences, and Zira realized that humans had a method of communication that was chaotic to her, but somehow effective. It fascinated her. Hours passed, though time was meaningless in space. Finally, the worst of the damage was repaired enough to allow controlled movement. Zira stood on the bridge watching the human crew, feeling a strange sense of gratitude she had never known toward another species. "Queen Zira," Captain Elias said, "we've done all we can. Your ship can move under its own power again, but you'll have to avoid deep space threats for now. We can escort you part way, but we can't stay long." "I understand," Zira said. "And yet, you have done what no Arcalis could have done alone. You have given my hive hope." The captain nodded, slightly embarrassed by the praise. "We're good at that, apparently. But you need to move before those mercenaries find you again." Zira felt something unfamiliar, the weight of gratitude and respect for humans. They were flawed, fragile and yet brilliant in ways her species often overlooked. Perhaps this was what her legends had hinted at. As the Endeavour prepared to leave, Zira made a decision. Captain Elias, if ever your species needs aid, the Archelaus hive will answer your call. You have my word. The human captain's eyes widened. I appreciate that, and I think we might take you up on it someday. With that, the Endeavour departed, leaving the Archelaus hive free to navigate once more, guided by its queen and her loyal crew. Zira turned to her aides, her voice strong and resolute. Prepare the hive for movement. Our journey is not over. But today we have learned something invaluable. Even in desperation, there is hope. And hope can come from the most unexpected places. For the first time in decades, the alien queen felt not fear, but a spark of optimism. The universe was vast, dangerous, and unpredictable. But with allies like the humans, perhaps survival was not just possible, but certain, and somewhere drifting in the dark of space. Captain Elias glanced back at the Archelaus hive and felt a strange, unexplainable respect for a species he had only just met. For in that moment, two very different species recognized something essential. Courage, ingenuity, and the will to fight, traits that defined life, no matter the form it took. The Archelaus hive had regained its freedom, but freedom alone did not guarantee safety. The ship glided through the void like a wounded predator, its massive hull scarred by the mercenary assault. Queen Zira stood at the bridge, her claws resting lightly on the railing, eyes scanning the stars for any sign of pursuit. Though the humans had stabilized the ship, she knew that enemies would not wait. Mercenaries were relentless, and their greed for conquest often surpassed caution. Queen Zira, an aide reported, our sensors are picking up anomalies. There is a signature ahead, something we do not recognize. It is not human, nor is it from any known fleet in this sector. Zira's luminous eyes narrowed. Her instincts, honed over centuries of leadership and survival, flared. Prepare the ship for potential conflict. Alert the crews. This may be more than a simple patrol. The hive shuddered as its engines adjusted course. Crew members moved with disciplined urgency, their fear masked by training and loyalty. Despite the terror that lingered in the ship's corridors, a quiet determination resonated. The humans' intervention had reminded the Archelaus of something they often forgot. Even when the universe seemed against them, their resolve could turn the tide. Captain Elias, Zira said into the communication channel, we have detected an unknown presence ahead. Your expertise may be required. Can your team assist in assessment? There was a pause before the captain's voice came through, calm and steady. Understood, Queen Zira. We'll scan ahead and send data back to you. Don't engage unless absolutely necessary. We'll analyze and strategize together. As the human engineers connected their scanners to the hive's systems, a holographic display illuminated the bridge. Strange patterns moved across the screen. Massive formations that seemed alive, shifting like shadows. What is that? A junior officer asked, voice tinged with unease. Something ancient, Zira replied. Her knowledge of cosmic entities was vast, yet these patterns unsettled her. They are not mercenaries, nor are they ordinary creatures. This may be a test of our strength. The hive's sensors revealed movement within the formations. Dark shapes twisted and coiled, almost as if they were observing the Archelaus from within the void itself. The human captain's analysis came through, careful and precise. Queen Zira, these readings, they're unlike anything we've encountered. They're not ships, not asteroids, not life forms as we know them, but they react to our presence, and they seem intelligent. Zira's gaze hardened. An intelligent force that had remained hidden in the void was dangerous. Prepare defensive positions. Crew, ready yourselves. These entities may not attack immediately, but we must be vigilant. The hive adjusted its shields and deployed a series of drone patrols. Zira knew that brute strength alone would not ensure survival. Cunning and strategy would be equally important. She had survived wars not because of her power alone, but because she anticipated her enemies' moves before they were made. Hours passed in tense anticipation. The void outside remained silent, but the shadows shifted as if waiting. Then a sudden tremor shook the hive. The ship's sensors went wild, detecting a massive energy surge nearby. Impact coordinates approaching, a crew member shouted. It's massive! Before anyone could react further, a dark tendril of energy surged from the void and struck the hive's hull. Alarms blared. The ship rocked violently, sending several crew members tumbling. The queen gritted her teeth, steadying herself. "Divert power to shields," she commanded. "Engage evasive maneuvers. Do not let them predict our path." The humans moved swiftly, their ingenuity shining. They modified the ship's energy grids to absorb some of the impact, stabilizing the hive temporarily. Captain Elias's voice was calm yet urgent. "Queen Zira, these things, they're not conventional enemies. They respond to energy signatures. We'll need to mask the hive's output, make ourselves harder to detect. That's the only way to survive their attacks." Zira nodded. "Do it, and prepare countermeasures if they breach the shields. My hive will not fall so easily." As the crew worked, Zira reflected on the strange nature of these beings. They were not mercenaries. They were not seeking conquest. Their motives were unknown, and the unknown was often the most dangerous adversary of all. Minutes turned into an eternity as the hive dodged and weaved through the dark tendrils of energy. The human engineers' modifications were effective, but the creatures adapted quickly, testing the limits of both Archela's technology and human creativity. Then, in a sudden breakthrough, one of the human engineers discovered a pattern. "Captain," she said, voice trembling with excitement, "they seem to follow pulses. If we create a false energy signature, we can lure them away from critical systems." Zira's eyes gleamed with approval. "Do it. Lead them into the void where they cannot harm us." The humans worked with precision, crafting a decoy energy signature. The hive systems pulsed in a controlled rhythm, drawing the attention of the dark entities. Slowly, carefully, the creatures shifted away from the main ship, drawn to the artificial signal. For a brief moment, the hive was safe. The crew exhaled, relief flooding through them, though exhaustion was evident in every movement. Zira allowed herself a moment to acknowledge their resilience. "You see, young ones," she said, addressing her crew, "even in the face of overwhelming darkness, intelligence and courage prevail. Never doubt that, even against forces you do not understand." Captain Elias approached her on the bridge. "Queen Zira, your people are remarkable. Even in terror, they act with discipline and focus. I've seen humans falter under pressure, but your hive, you inspire us to be better." Zira regarded him thoughtfully. "And your species, Captain, has proven that ingenuity and adaptability are weapons as powerful as any fleet or energy cannon. Today we survived not by might alone, but by combining our strengths." The void outside remained silent for now, though the shadows lingered at the edge of sensors, ever watchful. Zira knew this encounter was far from over. These beings were ancient, intelligent, and patient, qualities that could make them formidable enemies or allies depending on the outcome. The Queen turned back to her crew. "Prepare a report for the hive. We must understand the nature of these entities. Knowledge is our ally as much as power, and we will not allow fear to dictate our actions. The universe is vast and there are challenges yet unseen, but we face them together as we always have." As the hive continued its journey, navigating carefully through uncharted space, Zira felt a renewed sense of purpose. The humans had reminded her of something she had not felt in centuries: hope that could thrive even in darkness. The Archela's hive and its new human allies were not only survivors, they were pioneers, exploring the unknown, ready to confront threats that neither species could have faced alone. Together they had turned desperation into opportunity, fear into courage, and somewhere in the deep shadows of space, the mysterious entities observed, learning, calculating, waiting for the next encounter. They had met resistance unlike any before, and that resistance was fascinating. Queen Zira's eyes glowed brighter than the stars outside the observation window. She had faced death, chaos, and uncertainty, but she had also discovered allies, friends, and the undeniable strength of cooperation. The universe had thrown shadows at them, but shadows could not extinguish the light of determination. The hive moved forward, guided by the wisdom of its queen and the ingenuity of its unexpected allies. The journey was far from over, and greater challenges awaited, but one truth remained clear: the combined strength of different species, united by purpose, could overcome even the most enigmatic threats. And so, amidst the endless void, the Archela's hive pressed onward, carrying with it the promise of survival, courage, and the enduring spirit of life itself. The Archela's hive sailed through the silent void, yet the shadowy entities from earlier had not vanished. Their presence lingered like a faint pulse on the sensors, a constant reminder that the universe held unknown dangers beyond imagination. Queen Zira stood on the bridge, her luminous eyes scanning the stars. Every fiber of her being was alert. She had survived countless battles, but this test was unlike any other. Queen Zira, her aide reported, the entities are changing formation. They are moving. Deliberately, Zira's claws gripped the railing. Prepare the crew. Defensive systems online, shields at maximum. But do not fire unless necessary. We must understand what we face before we commit to combat. The humans aboard the hive were busy at work, their fingers moving swiftly across unfamiliar alien controls, modifying power outputs and energy conduits. Captain Elias had grown more comfortable navigating the Arcalis technology, though he still marveled at the complexity. Captain Elias, Zira said, your species adapts quickly. I trust your instincts in this matter. What is your assessment? Elias paused, considering. They're intelligent, Queen Zira. They seem curious, almost like they're testing us. Not just attacking, but observing reactions to every move. I've never seen anything like it. Curiosity, Zira murmured. An unfamiliar species, yet the behavior is clear. They are measuring strength, willpower, and coordination. Then we must respond with strategy and unity. The hive adjusted its course carefully. The shadows followed at a measured distance, matching each maneuver. It became clear that brute force would not defeat them. The creatures were patient and adaptive, and any mistake could cost the lives of thousands of Arcalis. Queen, a young officer said, our human allies suggest we perform a coordinated test of our systems. They call it a simulation. It might help us anticipate the entity's moves. Zira nodded. Proceed. I trust your judgment, Captain Elias. The humans began orchestrating a series of controlled power shifts throughout the hive, creating simulated attack and defense patterns. Arcalis crew members followed precise instructions, their natural discipline merging with human creativity. As the simulation progressed, a new understanding emerged. The hive and the humans complemented each other perfectly. Where Arcalis precision lacked flexibility, humans improvised. Where humans hesitated, Arcalis decisiveness filled the gap. It's working, Elias said, a smile breaking his usually calm demeanor. If we continue like this, we can anticipate their reactions and even manipulate their movements. We just need to stay coordinated. Zira observed the crew, a surge of pride swelling within her. For centuries, the Arcalis had relied on hierarchy and strict order, but now, with humans by their side, they discovered the power of collaboration beyond command alone. Hours passed in tense preparation. Then the entities made their move. Dozens of dark tendrils shot forward, probing the hive, testing shields and defenses. Sensors detected energy fluctuations that mirrored the simulated scenarios the humans had run. It was as if the creatures had anticipated the test and were now challenging it directly. Brace for impact, Zira commanded. The hive shuddered under multiple strikes. Sparks flew, corridors trembled, and alarms blared. Yet the combined effort of Arcalis discipline and human ingenuity kept the ship stable. Energy conduits were rerouted, shields reinforced, and countermeasures deployed with precise timing. Captain Elias leaned over the control panel. Queen, we can turn this to our advantage. The entities respond to patterns. If we create a false routine, they'll follow it and we can maneuver behind them for a controlled strike. Do it, Zira said, her voice firm. But remain careful. Our priority is survival, not recklessness. The humans executed the plan, sending controlled energy pulses through the ship that mimicked predictable movements. The entities reacted immediately, diverting from the hive's actual course. Zira guided the hive along a hidden trajectory, positioning the ship to avoid critical areas of attack. Slowly, the tides shifted. The dark tendrils hesitated, then retreated, drawn to the decoy signatures rather than the real ship. Sensors confirmed that the hive was no longer under immediate threat. Crew members exchanged glances, a mix of relief and astonishment evident on their faces. Impressive, Zira said softly. Your species has shown true ingenuity, Captain Elias. Without your intervention, we would have suffered greatly. Elias shook his head. Queen Zira, it's your crew too. They followed our suggestions, adapted quickly, and stayed calm under pressure. We did this together. Zira's luminous eyes scanned the void. The shadowy entities had vanished for now, leaving only the silence of space. But she knew their test was not over. These beings were intelligent and patient. They would return if they sensed weakness. The hive had survived this encounter, But survival alone was not enough. Understanding and preparation were key. Prepare a full report of this engagement, Zira commanded. We must study the entity's behavior. Knowledge will be our weapon for the battles to come. As the crew worked, the Queen took a moment to reflect on the lessons of the past days. Desperation had driven her to seek help from humans, a species she once considered fragile and unpredictable. Yet that choice had proven invaluable. Humans brought innovation, flexibility, and a fresh perspective that complemented the hive's strengths. Together, they had faced a threat beyond imagination and emerged victorious. Even more than victory. Zira recognized the deeper truth. Cooperation between species could create a force stronger than any fleet, weapon, or shield. In the vastness of the universe, no one species could survive alone. The hive and humans had discovered the power of unity. Queen, one of the aides spoke softly. Do you think they will return? They may, Zira said, her voice steady. But we are ready. We have learned to adapt, to anticipate, and to act together. Our unity is our strength, and that strength will guide us through any trial. The hive's journey continued, each moment bringing new discoveries, new challenges, and new opportunities. Humans and Archelaus alike moved forward with renewed confidence, their combined skills proving to be a formidable force in the unpredictable expanse of space. Captain Elias approached the Queen once more. Queen Zira, I never imagined I'd see humans and Archelaus working so seamlessly. You've taught us that courage, intelligence, and cooperation can overcome even the most enigmatic challenges. Zira regarded him with a faint smile. And you have shown my hive that even the smallest species can alter the course of destiny. Today we survived because we trusted each other. That trust will guide us in battles yet to come. Outside the observation window, the stars sparkled like distant jewels. The void remained full of unknown threats, but the hive moved forward undaunted. The shadowy entities might return and new dangers would surely emerge. But the bond between humans and Archelaus had been forged under fire, tested by adversity and proven true. In the vastness of space, the Archelaus hive pressed onward, a testament to resilience, courage, and the enduring strength of cooperation. And somewhere among the stars, Captain Elias watched with a mix of wonder and determination, knowing that humanity had not only survived, but had proven its value in a universe that often underestimated them. The Queen turned back to her crew. We face a universe of challenges, she said, but we face them together. Let this be remembered. Strength is not measured by might alone, but by the ability to unite with those who share our purpose. Today we are stronger. Tomorrow we will be unstoppable. And as the hive glided through the endless dark, its crew filled with courage and unity, one truth shone brighter than any star. The universe belonged not only to those who ruled by force, but to those who dared to fight with intellect, heart, and unity. The test of the shadows was over for now, but the journey was far from finished. The hive and its human allies had proven they could face the unknown together, and no force in the void could take that away. The Archelaus hive glided through the void, but the earlier encounters with the shadowy entities had left a mark. Sensors still detected traces of the unknown force, drifting at the edges of the ship's detection range. Queen Zira stood on the bridge, her luminous eyes reflecting the distant stars, her mind sharp with focus. The hive had survived previous attacks, but the Queen knew the final challenge was near. Captain Elias and the human engineers were busy at their stations, analyzing the patterns of the shadow entities. Their rapid calculations and observations had revealed a startling insight. The creatures were not only intelligent, but also reactive to emotions and energy signatures. Fear, hesitation, or disunity could attract them like moths to a flame. Conversely, confidence, strategy, and unity could deter them. Queen Zira, Elias said, I believe we found a way to force them to retreat permanently, but it's risky. We'll need to synchronize every system on the hive, every crew member and every human engineer's calculations. One mistake and we could provoke them further. Zira's eyes narrowed with determination. Then we will not make a mistake. Prepare the hive, inform the crew. Every Archelaus must understand the role they play. Humans and Archelaus alike must act as one. Throughout the hive, alarms sounded and lights pulsed, signaling the final preparations. Crew members, both Archelaus and human, moved with precise coordination. Energy conduits were reinforced, shields synchronized, and strategic maneuvers planned down to the smallest detail. Every individual understood that their actions could decide the fate of the ship, and possibly their species. The shadow entities appeared suddenly, emerging from the void like a living storm. Dark tendrils stretched and twisted, probing at the hive's shields and testing for weaknesses. The bridge trembled as the Queen's orders echoed through the corridors. "Hold formation. Focus on synchronization," Zira commanded. Captain Elias and his team initiated the energy pulse system. Using the hive's massive power cores, they channeled precise waves of energy through the ship, creating a pattern designed to overwhelm the creature's perception. Arculus operators adjusted shield frequencies, while human engineers fine-tuned the pulses, ensuring harmony across systems. The tendrils recoiled at the first waves of energy. They hissed and twisted, reacting to the confidence and unity radiating from the hive. The creatures tried to adjust, but the Arcalis and humans anticipated each change, countering with coordinated precision. "Now," Zara shouted, and the hive shifted its position with flawless timing, moving in a pattern that the creatures could not predict. Energy waves surged outward, reflecting off shields, bouncing across conduits, and creating an impenetrable field of light and energy. The entities shrieked in response, retreating slightly, but they did not give up. Their movements became frantic, their tendrils flailing in confusion. The humans' adaptive calculations kept pace with the creatures' reactions, while the Arcalis crew's discipline ensured no system faltered. "Queen Zira," Elias called. "They're trying to mimic our pattern." "They're learning." Zira's eyes glowed brighter, radiating determination. "Then we must evolve faster. Every crew member, every human engineer follow the next sequence. Trust each other. Trust your instincts. Trust your queen." For the next several minutes, the hive danced through the void, its movements a perfect blend of strategy and improvisation. The shadow entities lashed out repeatedly, but the unified coordination of Arcalis and humans neutralized every strike. One by one, the tendrils recoiled further, unable to breach the hive's synchronized defenses. Finally, a brilliant surge of energy erupted from the hive, channeled by every power system in perfect harmony. The entities screamed in response, twisting and recoiling, then slowly began to retreat into the darkness from which they had emerged. The bridge fell silent, the only sound the steady hum of the hive's engines. Crew members exhaled, some dropping to their knees in relief. Captain Elias allowed himself a small smile. "We did it," he said quietly. Zira's voice echoed through the bridge, calm and commanding. "Yes, we did it. Not by might alone, not by fear, not by isolation. We triumphed because we acted together." Humans and Arcalis alike proved that unity is strength. The Queen surveyed her crew, her pride evident. The humans had not only survived with the hive, but had contributed decisively to victory. Their ingenuity, courage, and adaptability had complemented the Arcalis discipline perfectly. "Today," Zira continued, "we have proven something greater than survival. We have proven that different species, united by purpose and courage, can overcome even the unknown. Let this be remembered in the history of the hive." Captain Elias nodded. "And let it be remembered in the history of humanity as well. We faced something no one else could, and we did it together. This is what humans can achieve when we trust each other and work as one." The hive began to stabilize fully, its systems recovering from the intense energy exertion. Arcalis engineers repaired minor hull damage, while human teams monitored the remaining energy fluctuations. The shadow entities had vanished into the void, perhaps deterred permanently by the hive's coordinated strength. As the ship moved forward, Queen Zira reflected on the lessons of the journey. The hive had faced destruction, despair, and the unknown. Yet in each challenge, the humans had been an unexpected source of strength. Their resilience, creativity, and unwavering courage had reminded her of something vital. Even the mightiest species cannot survive alone. "Prepare for course adjustments," Zira commanded. "We must continue our journey. Other threats may exist in this galaxy, but today we have proven our capacity to face them together." The crew worked with renewed energy. Arcalis and humans moved side by side, sharing knowledge, assisting one another, and learning from the strengths of the other. Bonds had been forged in the heat of adversity, creating a foundation for future cooperation that would endure long after this battle was forgotten. Captain Elias approached the Queen once more. "Queen Zira, I must say I didn't expect to witness such seamless teamwork between our species. You've shown that humans are capable of more than we even imagined. We can face the impossible together. Sira regarded him with quiet approval. And you have proven that even the smallest, seemingly fragile species can change the course of destiny. Never underestimate the power of courage, ingenuity, and cooperation. Today, humanity has earned its place as a true ally of the hive. Outside the observation window, the stars stretched endlessly, calm and serene after the chaos of battle. The void no longer seemed threatening, for the hive now carried confidence, experience, and the knowledge that unity could overcome even the most mysterious forces. The crew took a moment to acknowledge their survival. Young Arcalis soldiers who had been terrified at first now stood tall, inspired by the humans' bravery. Human engineers who had doubted their place among the alien crew now felt pride in their contribution. Together they had faced the unknown and emerged victorious. Sira turned to the bridge crew. Remember this moment. Remember the courage you displayed, the unity you embraced, and the ingenuity you applied. These are the qualities that will define us, and they will carry us through every trial the universe places before us. Captain Elias smiled, placing a hand on the console. Queen Zira, it's been an honor to fight alongside the hive. We've learned as much from your species as you have from ours. Together we are stronger than either of us alone. Sira's eyes glowed softly. Indeed, Captain. Together we are unstoppable. Let this victory remind us that no matter how vast the universe, courage, intelligence, and unity will always prevail. The Arcalis hive sailed on through the endless expanse, its crew composed of humans and Arcalis working as one. The shadow entities had been repelled, but more challenges would surely come. Yet the hive now carried a secret weapon far greater than any cannon or shield. The combined spirit, intelligence, and courage of two species united in purpose. And somewhere in the stars, drifting silently, the remnants of the shadow entities observed, calculating, learning, and perhaps reconsidering the strength of unity. For they had witnessed a force unlike any other, one born not of fear, not of dominance, but of collaboration, creativity, and courage. Queen Zira stood on the observation deck, looking at the stars. The universe was vast, uncertain, and dangerous, but she had learned something that no enemy could take away. Survival was not enough. True strength lay in unity, in courage, and in the willingness to trust others, even across species. With humans and Arcalis working together, no challenge seemed insurmountable. And in that moment, the Queen knew that the future of the hive, and perhaps the universe itself, was brighter than any star. The Arcalis hive continued its journey, a living testament to the power of collaboration, the courage of individuals, and the enduring spirit of life itself. And as the stars stretched endlessly into the void, one truth shone brighter than all others. The universe belonged not only to those who fought with strength, but to those who fought with intelligence, heart, and unity.